I mean, I feel like you can't do power rankings without kind of going into a little detail on them. So we got about half the games, half the series finished right now. Seattle swept Dallas. New Orleans, San Antonio kick off soon. You got Denver up 2-0 on Phoenix. Memphis up 2-0 on Utah. Charlotte swept Milwaukee. Wizards beat the Nets 4-2. And then you got Cleveland that swept Orlando. And then you got Knicks Bulls. We should kick off pretty soon. We got some good matchups potentially for the second round, but still remains to be seen what those matchups going to look like outside of Charlotte and Washington. So what I like to do is I like to kind of go through a few numbers since I did the power rankings. Um, so let's start out. We're gonna get a chance to do this before the year is out, but I wanted to kind of start out on some team stuff, some stats. All right. So let's start taking a look at the best offensive teams in the league. Offensive rating wise, the Nuggets number one. I give him credit. He got a good offense going right now. Um, but we'll talk a little bit later once we get into the defense and everything. Seattle, we know what they about. They one of the best offensive teams in the league. You know the Knicks gonna be up there. Grizz, Hornets, Spurs, Pelicans, Nets, Magic, Bulls. What I found out in these leagues, if you're not anywhere in these top five, for offensive rating, it kind of coincides with the defensive rating too. But if you ain't anywhere in this top five, it's gonna be tough for you to pull out these games, close games in the playoffs, deeper into the playoffs. But let's look at the defense. We got a little different look on the defensive side. Hornets, number one defensive team. Sonics, number two. Spurs, number three. Knicks, number four. Grizz, five. Pelicans, six. Nuggets, seven. Cavs, eight. Suns, nine. Wizards, 10. So your top five defensively is Hornets, Sonics, Spurs, Knicks, Grizz. Um, Nuggets come outside of the top five and they're number seven. Um, so we'll talk a little bit about that. Then you look at the net ratings. Your top five net rating is Sonics, Nuggets, Knicks, Grizz, Hornets, Spurs, Pelicans, Cavs, Nets. Um, I mean, most of the time you got these double digit net rating. You pretty skilled at the game or experienced enough to pull out a lot of these close user games, I think. Um, so we got about seven guys that's got double digit net rating right now. But let's also look a little bit. We're gonna look at the playoff stats in a little bit, y'all. But also let's start kind of looking at um, bench scoring. This is gonna be somewhat key in these user games too. And this is all going inside of my power rankings. Nuggets second to last in bench scoring. You know, if you playing them, you already kind of know what you're looking for. You know he's gonna play a lot of his starters more often than not. And so at the end of the day, you gotta push them, make them gas. Um, but the top five bench scorers is Hornets, Cavs, Knicks, Grizz, Wizards. Then you got the Spurs, and then you got some computer teams up here. So thinking about these top six, all these guys are still either advanced or alive in the playoffs right now. Too. Opponent field goal percentage. So this is another key stat that I feel like a lot of people don't really go into detail about. So opponent field goal percentage is self-explanatory. Um, you see who's number one? The Hawks, 51%. Opponent shot 51% against the Hawks this year. Opponent shot 50% against the Magic. X, I don't know if you listen to this, but then the season opponent shot 50% against you. That's not a recipe for success come playoff time. And that may also explain how Cavs may have had an advantage, considering they give up 48%, but 50% that's tough. You know, if you look at the bottom, the best in defending field goal percentage. The Hornets. This is why I'm saying the Hornets is scary, man. Like they 40.427%. Grizz is second. Nuggets, they come in at 44%. Spurs 44.8. Pelicans right at 45. Then you got the Knicks, Sonics. You got computer teams and a few other teams after that. Um, so I can give, Hornets are scary. I can give the Nuggets some credit here. Although they have a low defensive rating, they defend the field goal percentage pretty well. Let's look at the 3-point percentage. This is probably why the defensive ratings are a little bit changed. Opponents 3-point percentage. Grizz best in the league defending the three. Pelicans second best. Knicks third best. Hornets fourth best. Sonics fifth best. Wizards sixth best. You got the Suns and the Spurs. Then the Nuggets here at 8. So all these do mean something in this game when it comes to looking at how well teams defend other teams and things like that. But we're gonna go a little bit into the playoff stats right quick too. Let's talk a little bit about these playoff stats for a little bit. It's gonna be a little skewed just because some some people are playing users, some people have already played 4 games, some only 2. So let's take a quick look at what we got um, here right now in the playoffs. So I only played 2 games against Utah. Game 2 was a big blowout. So my numbers may be a little skewed right now. So we'll wait till we finish. Uh, but looking at the offensive ratings, we got right now number 1. That could change. You got Sonics 2, Hornets 3, Nuggets 4, 5 Cavs who had a user game. Nuggets had a user series right now. Wizards 6. And then let's look at the defensive ratings. Grizz number 1, Nuggets number 2, which they've improved. Come playoff time, you got Cavs number 3. And shout out to the Cavs, man. I think a lot of people had kind of doubted the Cavs just because of how they kind of came into the playoffs. They were 21. What was y'all record last year, man? I think it was 21 and was it 21? 20 and 9. That's what it was. I think a lot of people doubted the Cavs, and outside of Charlotte and New York, a lot of people didn't talk about many teams outside the East, especially when Brooklyn had to take a leave for absence. So Cleveland came out and they took care of business against Orlando as well. So shout out to Cleveland. I respect it. Um, but let's also kind of go a little bit deeper into some of these other numbers. Rebounding, you know, Cavs have dominated the boards in these playoffs. We would think outside of Drummond, after they traded Drummond, rebounding wise, they would be in trouble. But Garuba, Cantor, they've been huge on the boards. They got Jimmy Butler and John. They got a lot of guys who can grab boards. They starting 5, could all grab 5 or more boards a game. So very tough team. Grit and probably like a grit and grind of the East, honestly. Then you got the Hornets. Number 2, the Hornets are top in every category almost, y'all. Almost top in every category. Um, Assist wise, Hornets number 1, Grizz, Knicks, Sonics, Spurs, Cavs. So let's talk a little bit about the power rankings right quick. Hold on right quick. I think we got Carlock. We got special guest. Carlock, you there?
Yeah, man, how y'all guys doing today?
We got Carlock here. Carlock here. We just going through some of these stats, Carlock, and just kind of explain a little bit of why I listed my rankings the way I did. Um,
Mm,
so right now we on the playoff stats. We're looking at rebounds, um, assists. Hornets number 1 in assists. 2 Grizz, 3 Knicks, 4 Sonics, 5 Spurs. Steals, Cavs number 1 steals. Knicks right behind them at 2. Hornets 3. It's scary that the Hornets have been top 3 in almost every category, whether it's season or playoffs in some way. They number 1 in blocks. Knicks right behind them though, 2 at blocks, 3 at blocks for the
mm,
Grizzlies. Spurs 4, Cavs 5, Sonics 6. Turnovers. So let's
yeah.
see. I don't know how the wait a minute. How the Bulls got turnovers like that and they ain't played a game? That must be messed up. I was like, how the Bulls #1 in turnovers and they ain't even played a game?
Man, look,
All right, there we
you know
go.
what it is.
There we go. All right, so turnovers. Magic #1 in the playoffs in turnovers. They had 20 turnovers a game in these games. You're
Mm,
not gonna win
mm,
any game with 20 turnovers. Suns,
mm-hmm,
20 turnovers. They down 0-2 against Denver right now with the series going back to Phoenix. But they're gonna have to
mm-hmm,
limit these turnovers. It's just it is
mm-hmm,
what it is. Now we looking at least amount so far. Grizz #1, Wizards #2. That's
mm-hmm,
I like that. I like the Wizards being #2 here because I think in the season they were one of the higher turnover teams in the past. So they've been taking care of the
mm-hmm,
ball. Nuggets have taken care of the ball at #3, turning over the least. Hornets 4. Then you got the Mavs at 5, which is computer team. They got swept,
mm-hmm,
and then you got Seattle at 6. Um, so let's kind of go through these rankings a little bit right quick.
mm-hmm.
Call up
Okay,
and
start
let's
with that.
see. So I'm gonna start at 1,
Okay.
only because it's a little bit easier to start at 1. So 1 we got Seattle. Um, when looking at Seattle, I had to kind of factor in, okay, they advanced against Dallas. Their next
Mm-hmm,
matchup is going to be New Orleans or San Antonio, who I think
mm-hmm,
they fared well against overall,
mm-hmm,
past couple of seasons or whatever. But also this
mm-hmm,
year too. It's only so much you can take from these regular season games. So I'm just kind of going off of, what I've seen and then also a lot of these stats that I kind of talked about. So let's see how they
mm-hmm,
fared against the Spurs. So they beat the Spurs 139-99 on December 23rd this year. And then they
mm-hmm,
beat the Pelicans. And I think this was post, and I don't know, this may have been pre KP or was it post KP? But they beat
mm-hmm,
the Pelicans 134-103. So about a
mm-hmm,
30-point margin in victories between both teams.
mm-hmm,
One thing that Seattle also has that I think will hurt, I think, this is what I'll say. I think that the Spurs, they have enough size in terms of their bench, and then they have other guys defensively who can, stop a lot of those offensive players on the Sonics. So I think they may
mm-hmm.
be a better matchup for Seattle than New Orleans will. After New Orleans traded KP, I feel like with their size, their lack of size right now, that's going to be a big problem against Seattle. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Van Fleet is a baller. I ain't saying he ain't, but when you got him going up against SGA or Jalen Brown at times, and I guess he could play Trey. That might be a wash if he can guard Trey. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but then you got guys like Jalen Brown defending Bi. You got SGA to defend Lonzo. You got Seattle got enough size in the paint to defend guys like Zion and box out guys like Hayes. Also, where the struggle is going to come with New Orleans is the bench unit. Right now, the bench unit isn't the strongest. It's probably one of the weakest in the league. If I had to take a guess, let's
Mm-hmm.
see. So they're 21st in the league in bench scoring for the season.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Whereas, let's see where the Sonics were. Sonics were 15th, so they weren't too far
Mm-hmm.
off. Um, but I think the Sonics, just because they fare well against both teams, and it's really going to depend on who wins this matchup here. I think if he plays the Spurs, it'll depend on what the Spurs do with their unit in terms of how they're going to defend them. But they have one of the better defensive teams in the league, so I feel like it's going to be a good series. But overall,
Mm-hmm.
I think Seattle, they have so much talent from the top to bottom still, even after the trades they've made. Carla, what you think on that?
Um, I understand where you're going with it. I definitely think Seattle, especially the moves they made by them and Trey Young, granted everything they lost in Buddy Hield, who was a big factor for them last year, they gained that plus some of the additional Trey Young because Trey Young is a very underrated on-ball defender. I mean, you can me seeing him play this year. I mean, he's pretty solid with them, but his playmaking and ability to get other guys on the offensive end makes up to whatever he loses on the defensive end. But like you said, to the point of playing against the New Orleans Pelicans, Trey Young could match up directly against a Fred VanVleet, and it won't really hurt him on the defensive end as much as just say if he was going against the Spurs and he has to match up against a Lonnie Walker or a Dejounte Murray, because those guys' size, athleticism, strength, they can just probably blow by him, so it'd be more of a challenge. In addition to the fact John Collins has been, very solid this year. And one thing I think that you brought up as far as it relates to New Orleans Pelicans, they had an advantage with Porzingis, having him as a guy who could play the 4 and the 5 pretty much, essentially, but playing him primarily at that 5 and having that height advantage, also the ability to space the floor. You don't have that in Jackson Hayes. He's not a floor spacer. You don't have that in Tristan Thompson. He's not a floor spacer. Thomas Bryant, although is a guy who's capable of knocking down open three, he's still literally only 6'9" and nowhere near as skilled. So I'm not even going to disrespect Porzingis by trying to compare Thomas Bryant to him, because it's a complete downgrade. But like you said, to your point, it's really going to be a matter of just all the points you brought up earlier as far as who can really be great on the defensive end. That really matters. Who can keep that team to shoot low field goal percentages? That's going to matter. And because I love a potential Brandon Ingram versus Jaylen Brown matchup. But at the end of the day, the Spurs, if you look at that, what Lonnie Walker has done this year, what Dejounte Murray has done this year, also having a stellar defensive year. Lonnie Walker averaged 24 points a game this year on 50% shooting. Lonnie Walker this year was basically 50-50-90. And we don't see that often. He was that efficient.
94 at that.
94%. Yeah, he was absolutely amazing this year. And granted, the Spurs do play more of a modern style of basketball, but one thing I do think they have advantage of, they can go big if needed. So because John Collins can just play the 4, they got Jakob Poeltl, they got Moussa Cisse, Luka Samanic, who's very solid, who doesn't get a lot of minutes, but at the end of the day, he's a 6'11" 4 who can come in, space the floor, and play good defense. He won't hurt you. In addition to the fact they got much more shooting. Cam Johnson, Vassell, Mikal Luke, JJ, they have guys who can really play. So the Spurs, I think, they're honestly my favorite to come out of this New Orleans Spurs series, but I also think that they have the best opportunity to potentially knock the Spurs out in the second round if they're able to get past the Pelicans in the first round. Because I think Spurs
you mean the
probably.
Sonics? He said knock.
Yeah, the Sonics.
Yeah,
the Sonics. But I would definitely say that the Spurs are one of my favorite defensive teams in the league. I mean, they're very scrappy. They got great on-ball defenders. OG is a problem because, granted, even though he's undersized at the 4, his ability to kind of poke balls loose and play pretty well. I mean, the guy has gold clamps, defensive leader, pick dodge. He got some key badges to play both 4 positions to be effective. And he also can score on the other end pretty effective as well. So I definitely think that'll be a fun matchup, but I'll be being premature. We got to see how those Pelicans will respond because, of course, he was felt some type of way about being the 4th seed, and he ended up actually being the 4th seed. So in the West, so we'll see how that actually fares if that 4 could actually move up and get past this 4-5 matchup in this first round and see if he can get his revenge on them Seattle Supersonics this year.
Okay. I like that. All right, so Seattle, they were number 1 on my list. I guess we could, I don't know, Kyle, you want to do yours, but they were number 1 on my list because, for one, they top to bottom, one of the best rosters on the game. I think they have the offense to win. They got one of the top defensive teams to win. And I think they can match up well against either of these teams at 4 or 5. And then it'll remain to be seen what happens here when they get to the conference finals, depending on if they'll meet Denver, Phoenix, or Memphis, or Utah. I guess Utah may. All right, number 2, Charlotte. Charlotte was number 2 on my list, and I was thinking I was gonna put Knicks, call up, and I was like, Charlotte, man. Charlotte's just another. I think Charlotte got a chip on their shoulder right now, and when we went through these numbers, whether it's season numbers or playoff numbers, I keep going to the wrong thing. If it's season or playoff numbers, the Hornets are just playing at another level right now. They top five offensive
Mm-hmm.
rating. You know, they number one defensive rating, which was I was surprised by. It's close, but I was really thinking Spurs was number one at one point or Seattle. But
Mm-hmm.
Hornets stepped up and they're the number one team defensively. Anytime you top in the league in defense, you got a chance at winning a title. Because
Mm-hmm.
that's what's gonna win you the title in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
Shooting wise in the season, Seattle was 50% from three. Hornets number two at 46.7%.
Mm-hmm.
Nuggets right behind them at 46.3. Grizz at 45.9. Pelicans 44.5. And Spurs at 43.8. And then you had the Knicks at 7, 42.9. So
Mm-hmm.
Hornets, second best 3-point shooting team in the league, best defensive team in the league. That's gonna be a tough
Mm-hmm.
matchup for any team in these
Mm-hmm.
playoffs. Um, I will say this though, the Knicks do have the defense to stop the Hornets essentially. They do have the defense to stop them, and then they also. But where I think what's gonna be crazy, and this was I guess was a strength of the Knicks last year, and it's still a strength this year. But the Hornets are a stronger, much stronger rebounding team this year. They second
Mm-hmm.
in the league in rebounding, right behind Cleveland. And the Knicks, who were a strong rebounding team, are six. So,
Mm-hmm.
that was I think was a more stronger advantage for New York last season than it might be this year. So that may mean
Mm-hmm.
less possessions for whoever the Hornets play. With them being a top shooting team in the league and then also top defensive team, it's gonna be tough. They the top assist team in the league. Like
Mm-hmm.
third in the league in steals, Knicks are second, Cavs first. They're the top shot blocking team in the league. Like but I will say this, and this is one thing I didn't notice first time around. Hornets turn the ball over a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They average the third most turnovers in the league. So although they make up, with possessions with more, better defensive rebounding, better defense overall, they may get more steals. Like they third in the league in steals, but third in the league in turnovers, or fourth in the
Mm-hmm.
league, tied for third. So they're gonna have to figure out a way to slow down. I feel like the Hornets lose a lot of games because they fail to slow down games at times when it's time to
Mm-hmm.
slow down. Um, and a veteran team like the Knicks could take advantage of it. The Knicks are seventh in the league in turnovers right now, but they're three behind the Hornets. I think when it all comes down to it, Knicks may play a little bit more settled down basketball too. Um, but that was my outlook on looking at the Hornets and the when we're comparing who was going to be number two, like who I think could be the team coming out the East. And it's very close, but LaMelo MVP right now, he's playing amazing basketball. He finished the series with Milwaukee, averaging 28, 18 and a half assists, 6 rebounds, 62% from the field, 44% from three, and almost 90% from free throw line. Uh,
Gouda cheese.
he was the MVP. You got Klay Thompson coming in playing his veteran role. You already know what Klay gonna do. He's gonna shoot about 55% from three for him. Then you got Kelly Oubre, another guy who I think is. Let's see, where is he at? Let me go to his other stats. Go to your playoff stats, Keith, and see who been doing what. Boucher. I'm surprised he's your top rebounder, but Azubuike's up here too. So it's gonna be interesting to
Mm-hmm.
see how these guys are gonna perform when they meet up against a user too. I think you may see a little bit more JV, but
Mm-hmm.
overall, I think this team is so deep. Kai Jones, I forgot about to talk about him. He was your rookie of the year, and was he six man of the year too? No, he wins.
Mm-hmm. He wants the most something. He won
Yeah,
two
rookie of the
awards.
year, first team all rookie. They swooped this guy up, stole him from somebody, and I mean he making an
Making a
impact.
damn night.
He making an impact. So I think those Hornets are scary. Do they have some weaknesses? Yes, I think all these teams have some sort of weakness to them, but they came ready to play this year, and it's gonna be interesting to see this matchup against the Wizards in the second round too. It'll be their first
Mm-hmm.
test at a user stretch. Um, so we'll see how that go. You want to give any thoughts on the Hornets right now, Colin, or you want to just go and move on?
I mean, I could talk. I mean, reality of it is the Hornets are by far, to me, honestly, they're the scariest team in the league. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. And the reality of it is, they have advantage on so many different levels, or they're gonna match up and equal out on so many different levels. Lonzo Ball is absolutely, he's amazing. Like, that man is absolutely amazing. LaMelo Ball, but to be able to put up the stats that he does, and then Keith is getting more comfortable shooting the basketball with him. He shot 44% from three in that series against the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, do I think he'll be taking those type of shots in a user series? That is yet to be seen. But at the end of the day, a guy who's 6'8" and can play make and get to the ball and get to the rack in time, he wants. And then in addition to having Klay Thompson, you pretty much, instead of having Gordon Hayward last year in the series, you got Klay Thompson. That's an amazing upgrade. And then Valanciunas instead of Degum Miles Leonard, whoever crap he had. Like, that's a huge upgrade. And Kevin Gillen, who was a guy who was in the rotation last year, he hasn't even get minutes because Kai Jones and Chris Boucher are playing so well this year. But I think the X factor for them honestly is Jay McDaniels, 6'10" small forward who can pretty much play both forward positions. And he averaged 33 points that series on 49% shooting. So if you want to put your best wing defender on Jamie Daniels, then that means you're going to have somebody guarding LaMelo Ball. That's not your best. And if you got somebody, okay, you said you got two good defenders. Okay, who going to guard Klay Thompson? Like, you got to pick your poison with this team or who you want to kind of get off. And Keith has a much more versatility this year than he has in years past. And like you said, granted, if you have to force him into playing having bad possessions. And if you can't force him into having bad possessions, you're going to have a long night. So that's a really word to the wise for Will, because that series could be fun, but these are two teams who historically play at frantic paces without being, um, efficient. Kind of just, running up and down the court, but run around with chicken with the head cut off. And that's not going to work if you're trying to win 4 games in a playoff series. You're going to have to slow it down and be patient to, kind of get better shots, better possessions. Because in a playoff series, every possession matters. But I think the Charlotte Hornets definitely, after going to the finals their first year and losing, and then losing in the second round last year, I definitely think they've made the right adjustment offseason to kind of, potentially dethrone the Knicks. Of course, the Knicks got something to say about that for sure. But I definitely think that by the power rankings, I don't really have an issue with it, honestly. I think Vegas, they have some mismatches, and the Knicks are kind of older. He's still Kawhi. But it's gonna be interesting to see. Kawhi can't guard 3 people at one time. So Devin Booker and Kobe White, if they get to that, all of them get to that point. If we get to a point where those teams match up in the Eastern Conference Finals, because we can't disrespect the Washington Wizards and the Cleveland Cavaliers because they got an opportunity. So they got an opportunity to win their respective series, and not also mention the Chicago Bulls. Nothing is set in stone yet. But if I was Stephen A, oh bull, it's set in stone. Ain't nobody beating them Knicks. Ain't nobody beating them Hornets. Them Bulls gonna be there. So if I'm in my Stephen A voice, but it's gonna be it should be fun, man. So we're gonna be interested to see what kind of adjustments I made, and we'll take it from there.
Okay. So this is my prediction, and it may not be a crazy prediction, but this is going to be the highest scoring series in the second round, Charlotte and Washington. I think.
Uh,
I don't think any other series should come too close. Second round.
200 points a game in the Sam. Easy.
Somebody gonna go off in this joint. I don't know who. It's either gonna be the teams going off. It's gonna be some players going off. But I'm interested to see how that series turns out from an offensive standpoint. Um,
Mm-hmm.
all right, so I put the Grizz at 3. I put the Grizz at 3 mainly because for a couple so I'm gonna go back through the stats a little bit right quick. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so we can talk a little bit about seasonal numbers. Grizz were top 5 in defense. They were top 4 in offense. Had a top 4 net rating too. The 3 teams ahead on were the Sonics, Nuggets, and Knicks for net rating. But as I mentioned, I think defense is a very strong Um, very strong indication of how well you may perform in the playoffs. Along with
Mm-hmm.
being able to knock down shots too. But also, let's talk about percentages. The Grizz, who's going to face the Grizz? The Grizz get to the second round is Denver, the Nuggets. So you got the Nuggets. They're a great offensive team. I mentioned that earlier. One of the better offensive teams in the league, averaging 131.7 points a game. Grizz are right there with them offensively, though. I think. I think the difference between them two teams, if they match up in the second round, will be the defense, and then also the bench play.
Mm-hmm.
These guys can play as many minutes. Like you can play them as long as you want, but once those energy levels hit 60 or so, but those possessions
Mm-hmm.
become way more tougher, and your defense is way more slaw. You know, when your guys are tired. So I think that if these teams match up in the playoffs, when you look at the bench scoring, Grizz were top five in the league in bench scoring, number four. The Nuggets were number 29 in the league in bench scoring. Number 29 in the
Mm-hmm.
league in bench scoring. Um, which I just don't know if that's gonna get it done or not. But that's kind of went into my analysis with them. When you look at the defense, Nuggets do um, defend well from a field goal percentage perspective. But Grizz are ahead of them there. From a 3-point percentage perspective, Grizz are Grizz are number one defending the three ball during the season. Nuggets were
Mm-hmm.
eighth, defending the three ball. But then let's just go a little bit over. Um, let's see the numbers. So when this season ended, a lot of the top contending teams played games at the end of the year. So you had a lot of different, matchup scenarios that could have happened, things like that. Grizz had lost
Mm-hmm.
to the Spurs. They beat the Nuggets and beat Seattle. Um, but as the Nuggets have mentioned before, the Grizzlies have beat the Nuggets in what, 5 out of the last 6 games or so, or
Mm-hmm.
5 out of the last 7 games. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I just think Denver's going to have a chip on their shoulder. I do think that. And if these two teams match up in the second round, I think Denver is going to lay over easy at all, and they could very well win the series. But I think overall, bench play is terrible. I mean, 29th in the league, there's no other way to argue that. I would like to see somebody argue 29th bench point scoring being a good
Mm-hmm.
indication of your bench play. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I will say, you know, when it comes down to the best players in the league right now and who defending who, I think when it comes down to it, the Grizzlies have somebody for both MPJ and Bobo. Whether those guys go off
Mm-hmm.
or not, Grizz got Thabu, um, who's one of the best defensive players in the league, perimeter wise. And then you got Jaren Jackson and Bumble, who you can put on Bobo. But when I think
Mm-hmm.
about John Morant, Zach Levine, who does Denver have that's gonna lock those guys up? I don't know who that's gonna be. Jamal Murray, he's going to perform well offensively. You know what MPJ capable of. You see what Bobo did this year. But when it comes down to defending those two guys in that backcourt, who they going to have out there to sacrifice their offense to defend them? And then also Grizz have some secret weapons too, which I'm not going to name today. You just have to figure out. You just have to find out when we get to that second round. But
My
it's
boy
going.
say secret
I think in them.
weapons. I love it.
I think if those two teams match up though in the second round, it will be interesting. I do think if it was switched, I would say if Spurs were here in the 3-6 slot and Nuggets were in the 4-5 slot, the power rankings could look a little different. I feel like the Spurs showed a lot in that matchup against Grizz late in the season, and I think overall they will probably match up better against. J Rock said, "Damn." The
Mm-hmm.
Spurs would match up better probably against the Grizz from a defensive perspective because they have the guys to defend, my two best players when I think Denver
Mm-hmm.
doesn't. So I think these matchups, the way they played out, it will be interesting. But I put the Grizz at 3 right now just because John Levine, Jaren made another All NBA team. We're one of the better shooting teams in the league this year, so I think, if it comes down to it, we got to get through Utah first, and then whoever comes out that Denver Sun series and figure out what happens in a conference final setting if we make it. But I'm confident after 2 years of kind of developing and getting talent, this might be the year. If this gonna probably be the year if we have to make it a year. What you think, Carlo?
Mm. I definitely think you have some really good takes in regards to it. I mean, the reality of it is this. Um, I'm gonna first start with a team that you didn't really talk too much about, and that's the Phoenix Suns. I honestly thought the Phoenix Suns are really playing down versus playing up. Um, I think they have a really good team that could match up well. They had double-digit lead in game two, but was easily sidetracked and ended up losing by double digits. And it really wasn't a standpoint of them doing, I mean, the Denver Nuggets doing anything differently, but the Suns just dropped the ball. It was very disappointing. But, that's a team I thought they had a little bit more moxie going into this series, but clearly they don't want it. So that's all I want to say about that. But as far as the Denver
Mm-hmm.
Nuggets and the potential Memphis Grizzlies go, that should be a fun series. But I do think bench play is going to be the difference maker. Because one thing that we know for a fact, if it becomes the Denver Nuggets are a very strategic team on how they run their offense. Not gonna take a lot of bad shots. Gonna want to get to their spots, put guys in the best position to be successful, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, if those key guys are making shots, they're gonna resort to doing what everyone resorts to do when it's a close game. That's trying to drive to the paint. And but drive to the paint, it'd be a little different dealing with Jaren and Bo and Bamba and guys like that. In addition to the fact, the Memphis Grizzlies have the best driver perimeter in the game in John Zach LaVine. Guys who can get to the basket and finish with contact with effort. Effortlessly. So it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic goes because I don't see that game, neither one of those games having a lot of blowouts if those teams meet in the next round. But I definitely see it's going to come down to how those guys finish in the fourth quarter. I think every game will be within 5 points going to the fourth quarter. It's going to be interesting to see how guys finish out those last 3 to 4 minutes and, who's going to be able to get their shots off more effectively. Um, both those teams know each other very, very well. It's not going to be a situation where you're going to pull out anything differently. But when it comes to when Jamal Murray and Bobo and those guys come out the game, you know, can you really depend on, Landry Shamet and Skylar Bissier and Adrian Griffin to, hold it down for an extended amount of time so those guys come back in the game? And I think the easy answer to that is no. So if that answer is no, that means you're going to see Jamal Murray, MPJ, Bobo play a lot of extended minutes. And we'll see how fatigue sets in if those guys are playing a lot of minutes. And then by them playing a lot of minutes, they'll be too fatigued to really finish out their full quarter effectively. And we know the Nuggets aren't afraid to play guys extended minutes, so we'll see how that goes out.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely think the Grizzlies have more depth and are a more balanced offensive team. And I think they're elite defensively. Thybulle was a great acquisition. I think Ja's a very underrated defender. Honestly, I mean, he averaging 2 steals, 2 blocks this season with the playoffs so far. And, but I guess thinking about Ja Morant's not a guy who's gonna shoot. So can you get him to? Can you keep him out the paint? And I think we haven't yet to see somebody do that effectively. And definitely not a 4-game series. But I think Zach LaVine being a guy who underachieved in the playoffs last year. Well, I can say underachieved, but he left the Chicago Bulls for a reason. So for him to go to Memphis, I think he had a better chance to win. And we're gonna see if that's gonna stand true in this series.
Okay. Okay. One thing that I didn't notice at first, which was kind of interesting, and this is just 2 games in, but the Nuggets are shooting 32% from three against Phoenix. So shout out to Phoenix
Mm,
defensively on that.
that's what I'm telling you,
But
man.
but it's interesting to see how they're shooting that they're not going to be able to shoot like that if they advance. Nuggets are not going to be able to expect to shoot like that and win a series. So it'd be interesting to see
Mm-hmm.
how they gonna balance that out. We know from a points in the paint, the Nuggets moved up to top 5. So They're 60 points in the paint. Cavs are 86.8 points in the paint right now in the playoffs.
Mm-mm.
Goodness gracious, X. So all right, so that's the top three. All right, now let's talk through. We talked a little bit about both the Knicks and the Nuggets. I think we
Mm.
know right now the Knicks they either the first or the second best team in the East right now. They're the defending champions. They went into the preseason rankings being the number one team of the league, and of course the number one in the East. Um, this is a Knicks team that I think a lot of people felt, should be able to make it back to the finals this year. But I think the Hornets, as we talked about previously, they had a good off season. They got a good grade in the off season. They got the MVP. They got the Rookie of the Year. They got all
Um,
NBA guys. What'd you say? What'd you say? Call up? I'll call up went away. But
my bad. My wife talking to me.
all right. But the Knicks, they're not. Of course, they're not no slouch. And so whatever happens, in this Bulls Knicks series, um, the Knicks are going to be battle tested by the time if they get to the conference finals here, because they got to use a series here in the first round. They got to use a series if they make it to the next round against Cleveland, which would be a good matchup too. Um, and then if they get to this conference finals setup, they have another user matchup. So a lot of times I think you end up faring better if you got user matchups through all three rounds because you already kind of used to how the internet is. Like how
Mm,
the shooting is.
absolutely.
Coming from a
Absolutely.
computer game is way different going into a user game. So it really kind of puts you a
Mm-hmm.
little bit at a disadvantage sometimes. Um, too. So that may help out Denver as well come second round, being that they already an established user series along with the Knicks. Same with the Pelicans and Spurs too. So um, Knicks are gonna be battle tested. And one thing that I know for sure, you can say whatever you want about what the Hornets got, what they doing right now. But at the end of the day, the Knicks got Kawhi Leonard. We know what Kawhi is about. We know Kawhi ain't no slouch. Yeah, Mike, that internet tough, B. We know Kawhi ain't no slouch. I mean, come on now. You got Kawhi is a game changer no matter, how you look at it. So at the end of the day, if you got the best player in the series, you always gonna have the better shot or a good shot at winning anything. So the Knicks, I think we talked a little bit about them when we were talking about the Hornets too. But like I said, the Knicks they one of the top, offensive teams in the league this year. They were number three. They were the fourth best defensive team this year. So it's not like, they fell off or anything like that. But it's just that, the anticipation of what the Hornets have been doing, and then also their performance so far in the playoffs and being dominant as they have been. Um, I think the Hornets are just they're going to be a tough out. I would really like to see a Hornets Knicks conference finals. I don't know if we'll get it 100%, but I think that'll make for a very interesting conference finals. There'll be some competitive basketball, and I think you can definitely see that rivalry brewing up right now too. Any thoughts on that, Colin, on your Knicks?
See you when I see you, Keith. That's
Okay,
all I got.
all right,
That's all I got.
okay, I like that. Okay, so at five, I had the Nuggets. The Nuggets were complaining about their seeding or where they were placed in the preseason rankings, and I'll give the Nuggets some credit. Uh, they have they did highlight Bol Bol a lot, and I think he made it an effort to make Bol Bol more of a focal point this season. And Bol Bol been balling out. I ain't gonna lie to you. He averaged 27 and 10 in the season on 72% from the field, 45% from three. And right now he averaging 29 a game in the Sun series, 8 boards, 72% from the field, and 66% from three. So Bobo's been playing. You already know what MPJ is going to be doing. Um, Murray is averaging a little bit less than I thought he would right now, and I think part of that is you know the Suns right now don't have the size to defend Bobo. But they have the
Mm-hmm.
guy to defend Murray. They got Marcus Smart. So all Denver's doing right now is probably, Bobo has an advantage right now. The Suns' power forward spot is a little weak or smaller, I would say. Even though they have Aiden at the five. So Bobo's playing well. The Nuggets are the best offensive team in the league, so not surprised at them being up 2-0. But like we mentioned before, the Nuggets I think they're still a little bit behind Seattle and Memphis right now, just because of the um, bench scoring is terrible right now, second to last in the league in bench scoring. The defense, they defend shots well, but I think there's a lot of other things that their guys just aren't capable of defending when you talk about some of these superstars that these other teams have in the league right now. And even when you start talking, if Denver was able to make it through, um, Phoenix, make it through Memphis and whoever they play in the conference finals and get to the championship game and meet up against Charlotte or New York, I still don't think they have enough. Because if you think about it, Charlotte got too much height. Who is gonna
I
guard
agree.
Lamelo? Who gonna guard?
Yeah, that length ridiculous.
Yeah, who gonna guard? Right there.
Okay.
Hey, hey,
Got
Charlotte
a
got so
sick.
much length, and the fact that Denver, I just don't see who's Murray gonna guard between McDaniel's, Clay, and running through screens against Clay, and then Lamelo. Then you think about the Knicks and Nuggets game, right? Mike, the Monstars. Do you think about Nuggets and Knicks? I mean, Kawhi, you put Kawhi on MPJ. Um, that Knicks team has the defense to possibly and the rebounding advantage too, possibly to shut down Denver. I think that'll make a good matchup, but I just don't see Denver being ahead of those top four teams right now. Maybe that'll change. We'll see what happens for the rest of these games. But hey, and like I said, I think if the Spurs in Denver were pretty close, I think. Because I think the Spurs, honestly, are a better team. This is a hot take, and I think CK will like this. Spurs are a better
Mm.
team than Denver, in my opinion. I
Whoa,
think.
whoa, whoa, this. Wait. Hold on. Before you say that, I'm gonna say this. I would say that they're a better team. I will say they have better depth, but I think the thing about it is the Spurs have had they don't really have that go-to guy. Like it's really Lonnie Walker right now. It's kind of guy that got has been that guy, but we're gonna see can he be that way in a 7 game series to where he's for a fact he's the focal point of offense. Um, and I think John Collins is there too. But I'm just playing devil's advocate for the purpose of this podcast. But I definitely think that I can't say that. I can't say that, big dog. I'm actually saying Denver Nuggets is.
Well, yeah, they have the better players. They have better rated talent. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I guess you can say when it's going to, like we talked about with Spurs and Pelicans, it's going to depend on how the Spurs operate from their lineup perspective. I think against the
Mm-hmm.
Pelicans, it's not going to be as big of an issue as it may be in a
Mm-hmm.
second round matchup with Seattle. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but if the Spurs are able to, make sure that they're able to make sure no teams are able to take advantage of their size, um, they're open to beating anybody because defensively, like I said, they the best defensive team. I think did I say they were the best defensive team? Let's see. Well, third best defensive team behind Seattle
Mm-hmm.
and Charlotte. So, I mean, anytime you have, and you're in that 90 range or a 90 percentile defensively, I mean, you not to be, it's just tough. It's tough. So, I guess, it's a lot closer than you think. But like I said, I think if these two teams had swapped out, Spurs probably would have been ahead because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. If Seattle and Denver would have been a nice matchup too. I think both of those guys they know each other well too.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you
Yeah.
swap those matchups with Spurs here and Denver being up here somewhere, I think you would have had
Mm-hmm.
maybe. I could definitely see those two teams swapping out in some sort of way, probably.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I like Denver. The Spurs though, they being at six, I think they one of the best defensive teams in the league. I think they got the shooters. I can agree with you on them not necessarily having that straight up go to guy because we know in the playoffs when things get tight, You gotta have it.
Mm.
You gotta
Yeah,
have that go-to guy, especially when 2K is being 2K. So,
yeah.
um,
Balanced scoring attacks are a struggle in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't really guarantee that. Like if you just got a balanced scoring attack to where having six guys give you, 15 points or whatever, that's cool. But that's maybe hard for guys to guard, but it's also predictable because I can just put anybody on anybody. And I know for a fact I can't say that you're gonna go directly to this guy versus LaMelo Ball gonna have the ball in his last hand, and so this gonna make you kind of put more focus on him, which will open up for other guys. Kawhi or Devin Booker gonna have the ball in their hand. Kawhi primarily, then okay, cool, I gotta, but that's gonna make it open up things for other guys. So it'd be curious to see how that works out for him in the long run, but we'll see. I mean, I think the Spurs are. I think defensively they're so good, and I think they know for a fact they want to beat these Denver Nuggets. I think they have the Spurs have a chip on their shoulder too. If they carry that chip against they have against the Pelicans against the Nuggets, it's gonna be a very long series if they can get past the Pelicans. So
okay.
this gonna be a good matchup. I'm looking forward to seeing especially how round two plays out in these playoffs. It's gonna be dope.
Yep. Okay. So, I mean, since we still got some guys tuning in, we still got 7 through 10. Pelicans at
You got some
7,
questions?
Cavs at 8. Yep, questions. Wizards at
I
9,
know.
Suns at 10 right now.
Yeah. If they got questions, man, tell them put the question in the comments. Let's see what's up.
Yeah, if y'all got any questions, man, put it in the comments. We'll talk through
Yeah, see if y'all got some questions, man.
I think this is before you got on, Carlos, but I mentioned the Cavs. Mike said, when Chicago, New York kicking off.
Uh, when second take go off, that's
When what?
when second take go off.
Second take. Second take.
That's what Jay called it. He said, man, he texted me. He like, man, when we play, he said, can we play with second take go off? So we about to start in just a second, but I'm gonna bring my laptop up here, log in. I'm gonna get this thing cracking, man.
Mike said, we'll end it. If nobody got any other questions, man, we'll get kicking back to these playoffs. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 series left to complete. So you tuning into this Knicks Bulls matchup. Gonna have Grizz in Utah, and then I'm sure you're gonna have some more Denver Suns games, and you're probably gonna see Pelicans and Spurs, I think, sometime today. So be on the lookout. What Solo say? Boston got stuck at the airport, 30-minute delay.
That's cool. That's
Hey,
cool,
in
big
the
dog.
in real life, Solo, he would have missed that game, big dog. Or he would have came in the second half or something.
Man,
He
I
got the
definitely would have started that hoe.
Niggas be like, oh, y'all got 11 other players? All right, y'all can go.
Yeah, yeah, big facts.
But
That's
yeah,
gonna be
cool.
cool, man.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm good,
Anything
brother.
else? Anything else, JC? Before we end?
I'm good, brother. Good luck to everybody in the playoffs. We'll do series predictions in the second round. We ain't gotta do
Mm-hmm.
that. Unless you want to do, what I'm saying? I think that's when it really matters. Unless you want to do them now. I mean, I ain't really got
Mm-mm.
no. I just think, yeah,
Yeah, that's
we'll do
wait.
second round.
It'll probably be sometime this weekend, I guess, or Saturday, Sunday. We'll do them.
Probably
And
Sunday. So, happy Mother's Day to all y'all mothers too, man. All the mothers out there. Happy Mother's Day, man. Y'all spend some time with y'all mom on Sunday.
mm-hmm.
Or your
That's good.
wives or whoever.
Your moms or
All
your
right, y'all.
wives. All right, fellas.
Yeah, man. All right.